Welcome back to the Sports Rock Show.
The Rock.
We're going to get into some headlines in this segment. First and foremost, let's talk about one of the hot stories going around the league. Doug, go ahead.
Well, the word from several sports writers across the country is LeBron James could be headed back to the Cleveland Cavaliers in his opt-out year of 2014. A writer for the Akron Beacon Journal, Jason Lloyd, just had an article simply on the fact that he didn't think the Cavaliers would be doing a whole lot this year at the trade deadline. One, because Anderson Varejão's hurt and won't be able to be traded anyway, so they're going to have to hold on to him. So the Cavs are probably, in a position of not doing a whole lot, so they'll end up with what they have going into next year's draft, where they'll be a lottery. They'll have a lottery pick because they're not going to win very many games.
Well, 10-31 right now.
However, they do want the Lakers. If you're a Cavs fan, you do want the Lakers to make the playoffs. Because if the Lakers don't we have the Lakers #1 pick, but that'll flip if they don't make the playoffs. That flips with Miami. We end up getting Miami's pick. We want the Lakers to make the playoffs and get knocked out in the first round, so we'll sit somewhere around 14 or 15. Their Lakers pick is lottery protected. So if they finish out of the playoffs, they're going to be in the lottery.
Right.
If they do make the playoffs and get knocked out, say in the first round, then they finish 15th or 16th, the Cavs would get their pick, as opposed to getting Miami's pick, which, quite frankly, could be the last pick because they won it all again. But there is talk that LeBron has mentioned before, the way things went down in Cleveland, that he would be, he would have probably some interest in coming back. That things didn't go right the way he thought they would, especially the decision. Obviously, we all know how that went. I think he felt bad about that. I don't think he feels bad the fact that he left to go to another team to try to win a championship. And I don't hold that against him. Most people hold it back against him how he did it. He held the Cavs hostage because by the time he and now everybody, he's staying, and it comes down to the moment of truth. I'm going to Miami. Cleveland's stuck.
Yep.
They couldn't make any trades. They couldn't do anything. They got stuck with a bad team. Now they've been trying to get better. Doesn't show in the record books. 10 wins this year, I think. And so they're going to sit on what they have, get another lottery pick next year. Hopefully, they're going to have two #1s, whether it's the Lakers or Miami's. See what happens. They still have. They'll probably bring back Varejão next year because they won't be able to get rid of him this year unless they can trade him in the offseason. And what's his value now? You might want to jump on the fact that when he comes back, next year, he has a first good month or two of the season, and he's healthy. You got to get rid of him.
Yes.
I mean, they probably should have jumped on that this year, and they didn't. They like Varejão. I get that, but this team is not in any position to be winning a championship in the next 3 or 4 years.
No, and the problem with Varejão is by the time the Cavs are in that position, he's going to be way past his prime, and I felt like the beginning of this year, whenever he was having 20 rebounds a night and just tearing it up, he was probably the most valuable that he's going to be.
But
there are
some connections. One, LeBron is friends with Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
So there's a connection there. Obviously, the Akron connection, LeBron's hometown, is one. And I think if he truly feels bad, he's got his ring, maybe 2. By the time he comes to Cleveland, he might have 3. Who knows? He would feel that it's time to come back and try to set things right. I think Dan Gilbert will take him back.
Oh, I think so too.
I think somehow they'll come to say, hey, I'm sorry what I did. I'm sorry I bombed you on Twitter, whatever. Kiss and hug and make up, and let's win a freaking championship.
I think, first of all, my personal hatred of LeBron James is pretty much subsided. And I honestly think that it was probably, as much as I never thought I'd say this, Miami winning the championship last year was probably the best thing for that.
Yes.
Now, like I've said before, I don't really view LeBron James as the guy that crushed Cleveland. I just view him as another fantastic NBA player. Another thing that I have heard that definitely coincides with what Doug just said is that Miami's not a place to raise kids. LeBron's got young kids, and he still loves Akron. He still comes home. He still does things in the area. And I feel, my sources have told me that he would much rather move back here and raise his kids here. So I think there is a lot of validity to that. And I know that he said before openly, I could see myself coming back to Cleveland. And really, what better way to clear his name than to come back here and win a championship or 2 or 3? Not 4, not 5, not 6.
Well, he'll be 30 when he comes back. Somewhere in that vicinity.
Another 5 or 6 years in his prime, to be honest.
That guy's in great physical conditions. He doesn't ever get hurt.
Right.
Of course, he comes back to Cleveland.
He might then.
Why would he get hurt then?
Right.
Cleveland will have the money. They're positioning themselves to where it looks like they're going to make a run at a major free agent in a year or two.
Yeah.
He'll be the biggest one on the market.
And the thing is, Tristan Thompson, his offensive game is getting much better. He's becoming, it seems like every night he's improving.
Well, the best thing that's happened to Tristan Thompson is Virgil got hurt.
Yes, absolutely.
For him, that's not the best for the team.
Right.
That's for him individually.
Zeller, I think, is going to be a solid player in the future. I think Dion Waiters is going to be a very good player. And in the next 2 years, whenever LeBron's able to opt out, Kyrie's certainly going to be in his prime. So is Waiters. So is Thompson. Zeller could be hitting his stride. I don't ever, see Zeller being a superstar, but I could see him being a very formidable center in the league. The thing about the Cavs is they've got to get depth. When they start rotating guys off the bench, it gets bad, and it gets bad quick. That's Cleveland's biggest problem right now. Their starting 5 is really not that bad, but they have nobody to bring in.
Well, somehow along the line, they are going to have to get better. Because if they're still a 15-win team by the time LeBron is available, he ain't coming.
He's not coming.
Right.
He's not going to come to a team that only wins 15 or 20 games a year.
Nope.
I mean, he'll make a big difference, but he ain't making that big of a difference.
Right. Nope. But the thing is, you look at the Cavs, first of all, they're bringing guys in off the bench that wouldn't even make some team's D-League roster. And they've certainly got guys, Alonzo G's not starting anywhere else. He's not even a sixth man anywhere else. I just think that they've got to make some improvements. And it's not necessarily just developing guys through the draft. They've got to go out and get some people.
Well, I can see 2 things happening here. First of all, when LeBron left, he was the biggest piece of shit in the world outside of Art Modell, in my mind. But I've thought about this, and quite honestly, right now, LeBron James is the best basketball player in the modern era now.
Yeah.
There's only one other person that I've ever watched play the game that's better, and that was Michael Jordan. And I'm not saying LeBron James is Michael Jordan, but I'm telling you what right now. He hit 20,000 points at the youngest age ever, and he's got nothing but up in his game because he loves basketball and he keeps care of himself. We do have something that he's never played with before, a standout superstar point guard. He's never had that before. But I do agree, they need to build on this. And between now and the time when LeBron James is a free agent, we got to build his team up a little bit because he's not going to come back to a team that's just like, okay, this is where I was when I started here. And I think that's the main reason he left Cleveland to begin with.
Well, you have to.
They didn't have the personnel in place to win a championship. He couldn't do it on his own. He couldn't do it.
But he couldn't bring free agents there either.
No, he could not do that. I think right now it's going to be a matter of what happens in the organization in Cleveland with their drafting. Draft right. Get you some more Kyrie Irvings. Get you some more Dante Waiters. Dion Waiters. These are good players that they are bringing in. They're improving. You got to continue to improve to have something there to where he comes. I got something to work with. I don't have to be the workhorse. I'll give everything I got, but I don't have to be the workhorse.
Another thing you look at with LeBron James too is he has matured leaps and bounds since going to Miami, both on and off the court. I do believe that when he made the decision to have the decision,
I think the posse had a lot to do with that.
I think he was very misguided. I don't think that's something he would do now. And as far as on the court, he's learned to be a closer. He's learned to be a finisher. He's learned to just keep his foot on the neck and keep applying pressure, whereas before he would not do that.
Maybe he's going to have another decision and say, I'm taking my talents to Lake Erie.
Well, there's something that maybe
Instead of South Beach.
there's this little story here maybe you guys don't have any clue about. There was a posse member that was arrested. First person they called. Person shows up with a suitcase in his hand. $250,000 in that suitcase after bailing him out. Handed the suitcase to him. They opened it up, their eyes lit up, extended their hand and said, okay, see you. That's maturity. And that's being what you want to be and not having other people drag you down. And I think with that maturity...
I'm confused. What do you mean that's maturity? He bailed his buddy out of jail?
And said, see you. You ain't around no more. You're gone.
Well...
This is all you
He
get.
gave $250,000 to walk.
You're gone. You're gone. You are gone.
Not a bad gig.
You will not be around me no more.
Give me $250,000 to say I like you.
Well, you know what?
I love him for $250,000.
But this is the point. That's not what you want. That brings bad press. That brings things down on you. It's like you're not that type of person. You don't keep people like that around you, and I think he's learned, he's matured. You don't want that around you no more. You don't want that baggage with you. You've worked really hard and you aren't going to have people sucking on you. Good friend. Great friend. Grew up with him. It's like, here you go. See you.
Well,
we're done. We are done.
A lot of those guys
we are done.
Have hangers on.
Yeah, well,
that just they might be your friend, but they're more interested. If tomorrow you lost all your money, would they still be your friend?
There you go.
Right, they're more interested in what you can do for them than
they like hanging out with you in the nightlife and
right.
Well, I would honestly have to say this: you hand them a suitcase with $250,000 in it, it's like, oh my God, this is great. They look at it, and then the hand is extended and said, "Hey, see you."
Until that money runs out.
No, see you means see you. Don't come around no more. You're not welcome no more. You're gone.
You must have an inside source.
I guess.
Inside the posse?
You got a suitcase full of $250,000 we need to know about?
I have no source on that except the money-wise, but yes, it's like, see you.
Well, there's a lot of things that happen with LeBron James and his posse.
Welcome back, LeBron, I will say that.
A lot of things were swept under the rug, a lot of things that they did that they shouldn't have done. And that's just, that's an 18, 19-year-old that's
I will say that
thrusted into stardom and hundreds of millions of dollars.
The writer for the Beacon Journal said that Miami comes back and plays, I think, the Cavs in March, I think. And he said, you watch, LeBron James will be introduced and get a standing ovation. And he said that'll start pulling at his heart.
It might.
Well, I think, you commented on this, Chris. He was a young man coming in right out of high school.
I know.
He was called King James. My God, he had the biggest freaking picture of him on the biggest building in Cleveland, Ohio.
There's two things that went along.
He wanted to win.
There's two things that happened whenever LeBron James left that I don't think he thought would happen. One, I don't think he thought, although he should have seen it coming. I don't think he saw all the negativity coming that he got. I don't think he thought that he wouldn't be able to come home without,
harassment.
Yeah, he thought, I think he thought he could come back and everybody would be like, oh, welcome back and blah, blah, blah. And I think that all that, the booing and the hatred, and that really hurt him, to be honest. He may not have led it on, but I really do think it did. And another thing I don't think he thought he'd miss Cleveland as much as he does. This is his home, regardless of, his situation right now.
Well, he said, the things he said about Cleveland, I'm not really from Cleveland.
From Akron.
Right.
Well, it's all Northeast Ohio, sorry.
Right.
Maybe you're not from Cleveland, the city itself. But there's some things he said, and I'm sure that he wishes some of the things he'd take back. I'm sure Dan Gilbert will probably wish he'd taken back the
win a championship before you do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be, and maybe it's already been done behind closed doors of, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I mean, it was all done during the Olympics of his Wade, we're going to come play with you with Bosch or whatever. That was all done behind, even though there was players that already said, we heard him talk about it. We're going to play together someday.
Yeah.
There may be talks behind the scenes that that from people that LeBron knows up in this area that, hey, yeah, I want to come back, and I can. Fortunately, he can opt out in I think July 1st of 2014. And
A little over a year.
there's going to be people that will never like him for what he did. I didn't like what he did, but by God, if he comes back and wins a championship, I don't give a shit.
You said July 1st, so that means that this would be his last year in Miami.
He would play next year.
Next year. You're
Next
right. You're
season,
right. My
yeah.
bad. Yes, next year.
Well, what Doug just said, I agree with. When he left, he was the villain. We agree.
Oh, there's no question.
We hated him.
And he knows.
We hated him.
And
we
I don't.
hated him.
For some reason, he didn't see that coming, which that was more bad advisement from his, from his people that he was listening to. They should have told him,
Right.
they're going to
hate
hate
him.
him.
Cleveland, man,
Be
you're not gonna be
prepared.
liked,
Yeah,
man.
right.
You're not gonna be liked.
And it came from the decision.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody, as a fan of Cavs or anybody else, you can deny him the fact that when he became a free agent, it's certainly his right to go out and explore other options. But when it was all done behind the scenes, and he was already talking about coming to play with these guys, and then he drags them along. If he would have just said after the season's over, I'm probably not coming back. You guys ought to make other plans.
Right.
Then count on me.
But I think
he strung them along.
But I think,
and as fans, we're not going to reject there, but as a fan of Cleveland and of LeBron James, I would have accepted that. I would have accepted.
See, I don't think so.
I would have.
Because I think Cleveland fans want to use that as an excuse. Bottom line is, he's a hometown boy who said, I want to go where the bright lights in big city are.
He wanted to go win a championship.
I disagree. I think he wanted to go where the bright. He wanted to.
He could have gone to the Lakers.
But I think he.
Ain't no brighter lights. He could have gone to New York.
Right. You're right.
Ain't no
but
brighter lights.
That's right. Exactly.
I think he
Not
partially
brighter than
wanted
Miami.
out. And
I think he partially wanted out because he couldn't win in Cleveland.
well, but it's not like he wasn't from here. I think it would have been a lot like if Kyrie were to leave. We're going to be upset, but not as upset as if Kyrie was from right up the street like LeBron was.
True.
So I think that either way, Cavs fans were going to be upset and disappointed. Now, as disappointed as they were, if he wouldn't have made, had the decision, they probably wouldn't have been. It probably wouldn't have been as big of a deal. But it was going to be a bigger deal either way.
How do Cavs fans feel if he says, "I want to come back," and he can make it happen?
I think that the majority of fans are going to accept him. You're still going to have fans who are going to be, oh, fuck him, and this, that, and the other, who still are holding on to that grudge. But I think the majority of the fans are going to be like, okay, you know what? Come back. Let's do this.
Is it possible that he did Cleveland a favor?
Yes.
I think he did him. I think he did.
It is possible.
I think he did him a tremendous favor because when he left, they proved just how weak Cleveland was.
I mean,
he carried that team on his back.
But here's the thing, though. If LeBron, I would argue that if LeBron James in 2007 in that series against Boston, I think he'd quit. But B, if the LeBron James that played last year would have been the same LeBron James in 07, Cavs would have won that year, I believe.
Well,
LeBron James improved leaps and bounds once he left Cleveland. He became, like I said, that closer.
Then again, that goes right back to what Doug just asked. Do you think it was a big favor for Cleveland for him to leave then?
Because Cleveland was going to finish with their 50 wins, their 55 wins, finish in the top 3 or 4, get knocked out.
And still not win the championship.
So he leaves. We get a bunch of draft picks. We're trying to get younger. We're trying to get better. And he comes back and he joins the nucleus of Irving and Waiters and Zeller and Thompson and a couple other guys. I'm just saying.
I agree.
Did he in some twisted way do us a favor?
Possibly.
I agree.
I think
but
possibly.
also,
if he comes back and they win a championship the first year he's back, all is forgiven.
Oh, absolutely.
And dancing in the street.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't think they should erect another big sign of him on that board, but by God, if he does that, there will be fireworks all over that.
Well, see, now here's the question. It's funny you mention this. If that were to happen, who becomes the bigger superstar in the eyes of Cleveland, Kyrie or LeBron?
Kyrie.
I agree.
Yes. Absolutely.
So I think
LeBron will be considered a hired gun at that point.
Kyrie Irving will be the man.
So he's still a hometown boy.
Right.
The prodigal son comes back home.
Right.
But Kyrie Irving came here
I get
from the get-go.
I get a sense, though, that, and I think that it is a lot to do with, Kyrie's personality. I think Kyrie really wants to be here.
Well,
I really do. I don't think he wants to be anywhere
we'll
else.
see when his contract comes
Well,
up.
granted.
But we'll see
But-
that especially if, like I said before, and this is what I'm saying, if LeBron has any intentions that maybe he wants to come back, first fucking person he's going to call is going to be Kyrie Irving. Because that's the first person he's going to call and say, hey, you're going to be my running mate on the court.
What if LeBron decides to stay in Miami and Kyrie leaves and goes to Miami?
Oh, God. Please don't say that.
You had we have to end on that note. Oh, my.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
For this segment of the Sports
Yeah, that'll
Rock
be another
show.
Sprock.
Join us when we put the rock in Sports Rock for the next segment.
Rock and roll.